Call it in the air.
Heads.
It is tails. Welcome to XVGM Radio's 100th episode. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Mike.
And I'm Justin.
And this is episode 100. We did it! Woo!
Nice.
Good night.
All right. What's this episode about again?
Listener requests.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. No.
Oh, no.
I forgot to put them together. No.
Uh-oh. Today, on episode 100, long time coming, we are going to listen to your picks. We want to first off thank everybody who sent us in picks. Mm-hmm. And we have a bunch of amazing stuff to listen to today. And this is all just in celebration of you guys.
And a little bit of us.
A little bit of us.
Mostly you guys.
Mostly you.
A little us.
Yeah. Well, without them, we would just be doing this for us. And I don't know if I could take just you and I being the only listeners for 100 episodes.
True. And without us, they'd have plenty of other options for video game music podcasts to listen to. So
that's true.
It's it really is about the fans.
It is a flooded market, so we appreciate anybody who's listening to the show, especially 100 episodes worth. So
yeah,
thank you.
I wouldn't listen to me for 100 episodes. God bless you all.
Well, yeah, but you did though. So
Well, technically,
Because you had to edit, and I
only
had to edit.
half. We each edit half the
True,
episode. So
yeah.
as we approach episode 200, I'm going to be ready to quit. So.
Ugh, who wants to listen to this show? All right.
Anyway.
So, we flipped a coin at the beginning of the show with 2 different picks, both of which will be played in this show, but this was just to do one of 2 things. 1, it picks the intro, and 2, it also allows us to pick who is going to be evens or odds for the next 20 episodes.
Yes, and there is no change. You won evens
Last time.
Was it
and
last
80.
time, or was it 60?
No, it was 80.
It was 80. Okay,
Yeah,
so you won last time.
Because you won 20, 40, and 60.
Did I really?
You did.
Oh man.
Yeah. So now I won 80, and now I'm going for round 2. So
Yeah.
got to catch up. Got to even the
Got
score.
it. Next up, we'll see if you get 3 in a row like I did.
Yes, hat trick. All right. So Purnell,
Yeah.
who is from Rhythm and Pixels, our buddy Purnell from R&P, picked this track. This is Labyrinth of Galleria, the Moon Society. And this came out on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita in 2020. The name of this song is Aku Max, and it's by Tenpai Sato.
Oh yeah. Yep, that makes sense. Purnell has a love for Tenpei Sato. well placed at that.
Well placed and well played. I really
played.
enjoyed this one. I gotta say I'm a sucker for that violin. Pretty much any time I hear a violin in a track, especially one that's got like a squeedly meedly kind of effect, I'm totally down for that. I really like some of the like weird, crazy note bends in this song on the
Yes.
melodies. Really cool stuff. It almost sounded like a techno kind of scritchy scratch kind of vibe, but it wasn't. It didn't quite get there. This is like almost something that you'd maybe hear in a Castlevania game if it was like from the future.
Okay. Yeah. I would agree with that because there's a lot going on in the song.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I picked up on that was outside of the obvious stuff was what I thought at first was a sitar. I'm now not sure. It might have been a sitar. It might have been a harpsichord. But either way, like it was kind of well hidden under a lot of the other stuff in here.
You know what it wasn't?
It was not a shamisen.
It was not a
You are
shamisen.
correct. But between that and the pan flute that was going on, I thought there was a lot of really cool instruments that were used in here, and just a lot of different instruments in general.
Yeah.
I found this to be really hard-hitting just with the pace of the song and kind of like the almost like wall of sound effect that was going on. It was just...
Yeah.
It kind of hit me in the chest and knocked me down.
Okay. I don't know anything about this game, so you're going to have to fill us in.
We should get Purnell to fill us in.
Yeah, right?
So this game is from the creators of Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk. So this is a franchise, it seems, developed by Nippon Ichi. This was published by NIS America. Yeah, so the franchise is Coven and Labyrinth, and this is a new chapter in that. It's a dungeon exploring franchise. You are summoned by someone named Madame Marta, and you are a wandering spirit awaiting kind of your next assignment, your next adventure. And so you are helped by Madame Marta's assistant named Eureka and an army of what they call soul-infused puppets.
Does she have a castle?
With Batley and Magellan, I would hope, but maybe this is a prequel to that whole
Yeah, there you
thing.
go. Yeah.
But you're tasked with delving into a mysterious underground labyrinth that is, crawling with enchanted monsters, trying to unearth curios d'art that lie within this labyrinth.
Okay.
So you're hunting for some trinkets and things.
It's apparently a pretty long game. It's about 50 hours of just exploration.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
It kind of sounds like it's right up my alley, actually. I like exploration games. I like dungeon delves, particularly like D&D. I enjoy the role-playing aspect, but I'm actually more interested in like combat and dungeon delving. So this sounds like something that I might.
This is
wanna check out.
definitely a you game. This is definitely not a me game, but still pretty cool.
Yeah. This game is also rated mature for fantasy violence, blood, sexual themes, partial nudity, strong language, and drug references.
You had me at drug references.
Of course I did.
So Purnell said, "Congratulations on smashing that milestone, and here's to many more episodes to come. This track comes from the recently released Labyrinth of Galleria, the Moon Society. It's the first battle theme that plays, and it is what I've been missing from Tenpei Sato, having not played one of his releases in quite a while. I hope that you and the listeners dig it, and if you appreciate dungeon crawlers, then I wholeheartedly recommend this game. Controlling up to 40 plus units at once has never felt so satisfying. I could have read that in a beefier, kind of boomier,
You could have.
you know, kind of half chuckle like Purnell sounds.
But here we are, so we must we must soldier on.
He's got a good chuckle.
He does.
He's got like an almost Muppet chuckle, you know? He's like, like,
Okay.
you ever hear it like when Purnell laughs?
I do listen to Rhythm and Pixels. Yeah.
Whenever he laughs, it's like,
Oh,
he's
man.
like borderline Mr. Dink.
Okay.
Douglas.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Oh boy. So Tenpai Sato, real quick, we'll just pick 3 from his category. So we started off with Exer Hakai no Gozo, which came out in the MSX in 1988, doing composition. He also did Zardion in 1992. That's the Super NES game. And his latest game is Disgaea 1 Complete.
Oh, that's...
Where he's credited for a bunch of different music composition on there. So, yeah. I really dig this track, and the game sounds interesting. Not my cup of tea, but sounds...
I might check it out. I
It's-
gotta find some time, but I might check it out.
It's a Justin/Purnell jam.
Oh, yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
For sure.
All right, well, this episode is all about dice rolling. So what we're going to be doing for listener request is we're going to roll a die, and then as soon as we roll a die, that'll determine who is up on our list of people that we have here. So let's go ahead and roll the dice. What do we got?
10? So I think that's the last one. I think that's Scotty McElhone.
All right, so Scott's pick is from Turtles in Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade version. This came out in 1991. This is Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee, or Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee.
Yeah.
AD 1885. This one's by Mitsuhiko Izumi.
Welcome back. That was Scott McElhone's pick, the first official track of episode 100 after our intro. Turtles in Time was the game. This is the arcade version, came out in 1991. The track was Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee, AD 1885, and it was by Mitsuhiko Izumi.
Indeedly do. I love this song. I don't love this version.
Really?
I'm not a big fan of the arcade version of this game. I think part of it is the nostalgia from the Super NES version, and even Hyperstone Heist is like burned into my brain so much that I just vastly prefer those versions. I also feel like the drum beat there, that it sounds off, and it almost sounds like it's reversed. You know, like the drum pattern almost sounds like it's reversed. It's weird, like they did in the Super NES version. It's like do digga do digga do digga do digga do digga do. In this one, it doesn't sound. I don't know why, but my ears don't hear that.
Huh.
I don't know if it's just because the strike is stronger on the middle beat than it need. It's like doom digga doom digga doom digga doom. Like that's what it kind of sounds like to me.
Huh.
Maybe my ears are just broken, but
That's also possible. Yeah, 100 episodes of listening to video game music plus your last podcast.
right, that'll do that.
You maybe time for retirement.
Yeah, man. Put me out to pasture. Just old yeller me.
We'll bury your shell. At
We'll
Wounded Knee.
bury my shell at Wounded Knee. Exactly.
But yeah, I can kind of get that. It's been a while since I played this game. Last time I played it, I think, was actually on Xbox Live Arcade.
Okay.
When they brought that out. But I also have a lot of nostalgia for the NES, the SNES version. But I gotta say, this melody is burned into my brain.
Yeah.
As soon as it started going, I was just like, oh yeah, I know every beat of this song. I know where it's going, and it didn't really throw me that much. I did feel like the drums were a little bit weaker than what I'm used to.
Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, that chuggy guitar, it felt more Mega Man. And I mean, this is of course because we're listening not to the SNES version but to the arcade version.
Yeah.
But it felt more Mega Man X than I remember, and I kind of liked it.
I would say that the drums definitely sound weaker, but really just the whole track sounds weaker. You know what I mean? Like everything. I think the only thing that sounds stronger is the PCM voice shouts, like the hey.
Yeah.
Those sound a little bit brighter, but at the same time, I kind of miss the Super NES muffle. So really, just I don't know what it is about this version, but it's not just this song that Scott picked, but like literally every song
On the soundtrack.
And same goes for the arcade version of TMNT Arcade, not just Turtles in Time Arcade.
Really?
Yeah, because I did
that
play
gets
that
compared to the NES, and I mean the NES is not as strong sound-wise as the arcade game.
Oh, I completely disagree. I would say that the NES version is built differently, but in a lot of ways it's stronger in my opinion. But again, I'm also super nostalgic for that too. I did play the arcade version of that when it first came out. Like I remember going to there's this restaurant chain called Ground Round here in Connecticut that we used to have back in the day. And I remember going to Ground Round and playing Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, and loving it. But I also really couldn't hear that much of the sound back then.
because it was loud.
Right, because it was at a restaurant.
Yes,
right.
yes.
But I will say that the NES version I did play quite a bit of and just really loved it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's such a good game. Regardless of how I feel about the audio here, it's a great game with a great soundtrack. So
100%.
you can't lose with it.
I do remember both the original TMNT arcade game and the Turtles in Time arcade game. I don't remember where I played them as a kid because this is going way too far back for my memory to be clear, but I do remember playing a lot of those arcade games.
So I did not play the arcade game of this until, not recently, but I'd say probably via emulation or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I never saw it,
Yeah.
in the arcades. I never played it. I always deviated to, the arcade game original instead. I'd play that over this.
Yeah, I definitely played the console versions of those games more than I played the arcade versions, but I distinctly remember they had these in either restaurants or arcades. I think there was a pizza place near where I grew up that had the original TMNT arcade game that I used to play a lot. So I don't remember this one. This one might have been Smiles, Milford Rec, whatever you want to call it.
Milford Amusement Center?
Milford Amusement Center, we've got the fun.
They've got the fun. No longer.
No, I mean, they don't exist.
Right.
The whole thing is now an REI and some other stuff.
R.I.P.
R.I.P., yeah. But speaking of letters and numbers and words,
yes.
Scott did write into us
Yeah.
to say some things. So he says, wow, 100 episodes. Congratulations, guys. I vividly remember listening to the first episode all those years ago. I was painting the laundry room of our old house, jamming out to some NES console music and good conversation. I'm picking Bury My Shell at Wounded Knee from TMNT Turtles in Time. Fast forward to episode 100 and my kids are now over 5 and 4 respectively. So I got them the Cowabunga collection on Switch for Christmas, and they love it.
Nice.
We have played the snot out of this game the last 60 days. The best part is when we get to this level and my kids say, well, I love trains, but I also love the music on this level. I wonder if they have been learning VGM just by hearing me play it in the car. Anyway, this is a banging track, so I hope you enjoy, and congrats on the milestone.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks a lot, Scotty.
Yeah, I also have the Cowabunga collection on the Switch, and
I gotta pick that up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been playing it quite a bit actually with my oldest daughter. who's now
Oh,
4,
yeah.
and she loves it too. Like, she likes the first game. The very first NES game.
Oh.
She likes that one and the arcade game.
The one that everybody says is super hard.
Right. That one, yeah, of course. But she likes watching me suffer, basically.
That explains it.
Yeah, but she's also the type, like, she likes to change characters. Like, she likes to pick. So, like, if you're playing as a character through, like, stage 1 and you beat it, she wants you to switch to another turtle. And I'll be like, I can't do that in the arcade version. I'd have to die and lose all my lives to do it.
Oh.
And she'd be like, oh, I don't want to play this game anymore. But that's awesome. Thanks so much, Scott. Scott's been a long-time listener. He was a listener back on Pixel Tunes and also a listener on XVGM. So thanks for all the love and support over the years. And we hope you enjoy this 100th episode celebration.
Yeah.
Mutsuhiko Izumi.
So yeah, they started out back on the PC-88 in 1988 doing composition on Snatcher. I have them here doing sound editor on Gradius 3, but let's take a look. Where else we have music composition? Crime Fighters in the arcade in 1989, Crypt Killer in the arcade in 1995, and...
Don't forget Metamorphic Force.
I was specifically avoiding Metamorphic. I'm joking. I'm jumping around here. Metamorphic Force on the arcade in 1993. Let's see. Their most recent composition listed for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the Xbox 360 in 2007. That's this game, actually, because that's what I was talking about earlier.
Right.
Now I have a time frame.
So I see DDR X2. X2 for the PS2. They did a track called Tierra Buena.
Right, they did music and arrangement on that. Okay.
Right.
They also did remixing and arranging on Beatmania 2DX14 Gold on the PS2 in 2008. So their last audio credit here is what you mentioned, DDR X2 in 2009.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next track, I don't know, should we get nostalgic? Should we talk a little bit about the past of the show, how we got started, any kind of memories that you have for XVGM?
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Oh, do you?
No, we could. I think we can talk a little bit about that if we have some time between breaks here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll do that after the next pick then.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let me do a roll of the dice and see what's coming up next.
Who do we got?
Numero 6.
All right. That will be Camille of Banshee Beats.
Awesome. All right. Well, Camille wrote in to recommend Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. This is a PS3 game from 2010. The track is Along with the Dancing Leaves and was composed by Chikayo Fukuda.
Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was Camille of Banshee Beats' pick, Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. This came out in 2010 for the PlayStation 3, and this song was called Along with the Dancing Leaves by Chikayo Fukuda. Mm-hmm. Also known as Something from Maple Story, because wow, that sounded like it was ripped right from Maple Story.
Maybe Maple Story ripped it from Naruto.
No, Maple Story was out way before.
I know. Yeah, no, I actually played a number of the Ultimate Ninja Storm games.
Oh, yeah?
I was actually in a bit of a phase during the 2010s collecting them, because there was a number of them for the PS2, PS3, I think. They started calling, like, it was just Ninja Storm, then it was Ultimate Ninja Storm, and I forget what it turned into. I think, like, Ninja Storm Generations, when they started combining the old show and the new show, and now, like, the next show, Boruto, which is the son of Naruto. So it keeps going. They're fighting games. They're pretty cool, but this is, like, the Hidden Leaf Village main theme. So, like, when you're when you're in the Hidden Leaf Village, which is the main village from the show, this is generally what's playing.
I see.
Very serene.
Yeah, very chill, very calm. I really like this type of music. I don't necessarily know if it would fit in a fighting game, so I don't know where this plays.
Yeah, it's definitely not the music that you fight to.
Yeah, I was gonna say that'd be awkward. I feel like that'd be like a tea battle.
Yeah,
you know?
that'd be interesting.
I can make the better tea, But so you said you played a lot of these games.
Yeah,
you chased after them a lot. Did you run like when you were chasing them
with my arms behind me?
With your arms behind you? Yeah.
Anime run, Naruto run.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but they're fun games. I mean, I was also really big into the Naruto and Naruto Shippuden shows.
Okay.
So I played these. There was also, I forget, I think it was called like Rise of a Ninja.
Okay.
The Xbox 360 games. There was a few over there that were not really meant to compete with these, I don't think, because these were really just fighting games. Like, you pick your fighters, you have the fights, there's an arcade mode, story mode, and then the Rise of Ninja games on the Xbox were more like RPG story-based.
Oh, okay.
But they both had their market, they both had their pros and cons. I really liked what they did with these, because every iteration, I mean, as you should do with a franchise fighting game, every iteration, took what already worked and kept it pretty well, and then added more stuff, adding more characters from the show, or adding more abilities, or, adding like modes or forms to different characters as they like power up and stuff. It's pretty cool. I haven't touched these in a while, and listening to this kind of makes me, nostalgic for that. So thank you, Camille.
Yeah. So Chikayo Fukuda started off with Rystar on the Game Gear in 1994. In fact, they did a few Game Gear games before they moved on to the PlayStation era with games like Tail Concerto. They did Silent Bomber shortly after that, and then Dot Hack, Infection, Part 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The 4 is Quarantine, 3 is Outbreak, and 2 is Mutation. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, they did a lot of the Dot Hack games before they moved on to stuff like Asura's Wrath, and their latest game was Fuga Melodies of Steel, which came out in 2021 on Windows.
Oh, neat.
So, Camille writes, "Hello from France. I have a suggestion for your 100th episode. Congrats, by the way. It's the theme playing at the Hidden Leaf Village in the first Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. Don't ask me anything about Naruto manga or anime because I never read or watched them. What I know, however, is that this track is very soothing and it perfectly suits this hub area. Have a very nice day. You as well, and thanks for tuning in."
Yeah, it's good to know we have international listeners.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Hello out there in France land.
Yes, our show got started kind of the ashes of Pixel Tunes Radio, my former podcast. We knew that was going to be ending, so I reached out to Justin, who was my number one pick for doing a podcast, because I wasn't done doing podcasts. I wanted to continue doing it, but Pixel Tunes had its own brand and had its own style, and I didn't feel it would be right to, because Ed and I started that together.
Right.
And I didn't feel like it would be right to continue it with him, but I also wanted it to be a different show than Pixel Tunes. I wanted it to be in a different direction.
Yeah, I remember you saying you didn't want to just, keep going the same course. You wanted to kind of be more radio-like.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember, I remember some of our first few ideas before we kind of hashed things out. We were going to be like radio DJ voice. We were going to be all like wild and crazy and soundboards and whatnot. And then we kind of
toned it down
a little bit, because I don't know that I could do that for a full
100 episodes.
Well, I'm even just like a single episode. When we release these, they're usually between an hour and 2 hours. We've been trying to get it close to like the hour and a half mark.
Yeah.
But I remember a lot of our earlier episodes were around or above the 2 hour mark, and that's after editing. So we're usually recording anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
There's no way I could keep up that energy and that kind of voice for that long.
Hey, come on, top of the hour, we're gonna hear.
Yeah, we'd start out like that, and then by the end, I'd be like this.
Yeah. Low energy. Yeah, I guess that's kind of how things started. So that was back in 2018, right?
I think.
Yeah, because it was the summer that my daughter was born. That was our first episode, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, our first episode came out in June of 2018, and my daughter was born at the end of June 2018.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we actually started recording in May. Yeah.
It'll be 5 years this coming June. And so we started out with the format with the every other week, doing it that way, and then it kind of like evolved into doing it monthly just because we became busy adults.
Yeah, I mean, we stayed every other week for a while. We didn't really go monthly until...
Probably like 76, 80 maybe? Because I know we would get busy in the summertime.
The summer of 2021, we went to an episode a month, and then we kind of geared back up, and then we slowed back down.
That's right. It
kind of went up and down for a while, and then just like life got crazy, and with everything that you had going on, everything that I had going on, we had to slow it down. And
for sure.
Thankfully, that didn't lose us. Listeners, or at least we didn't lose us a ton of listeners.
No, I think it really kind of helped in a way because it spread out our stuff a little bit so that, it gave people some breathing room, especially since, a good chunk of our time doing this show was during COVID. So, I think people weren't traveling as much. Now people are starting to get back to work and, are resuming their, normal slave labor. So, to the overlords of corporate America or wherever you live. So at this point, people are, starting to listen to podcasts again, I think, and our numbers have gotten better, which is good. So, we like the fact that, the audience has grown with us. So that's always comforting.
Yeah. It also helps that we had a little bit of a seed audience to start with.
True. We did start with some Pixel Tunes holdovers who wanted to continue listening to a similar type of show. Let's dive into our next pick. We'll continue the look back and look forward.
All right. 4.
All right. That would be Joel Berube. So Joel picked Champion Wrestler, which came out on the arcade in 1989. The track they picked was Main BGM 01, and it's by Zuntata.
Ooh. All right, that was Joel Berube's pick, Champion Wrestler, the 1989 arcade game. The track was Main BGM 01, and it was composed by Zuntata alums Hidehito Kitamura and Kazuyuki Onui.
Oh yeah. I don't know anything about this game, but I dig this song. I will say the lack of percussion really kind of dampened it. I needed something crunchy and punchy, but I got
munchy.
But I got just a lot of thumpy bass and a lot of
galloping bass,
scrunchy munchy tones, like melodies.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind the lack of percussion all that much. I'm sure it would have punched the song up a bit, but I feel like the song, for what it was, I feel like it was full enough, particularly with that galloping bass, which kind of, aside from driving the whole thing along, like that kind of kept my attention. And then the high-pitched melody was like the two really played well off of each other.
Sure.
So I enjoyed it overall. Thank you very much, Joel.
Yeah.
This game, I also don't know much about it, but I do know that it's Taito's take on the professional wrestling genre.
Okay.
So this is a Taito game, and I believe that these are all just like made up characters. I don't think there's anybody. I don't think this is based off of a real. Like we played. What was the track we played in our one of our more recent episodes?
This is the Nipponichi wrestling.
That was based off of actual, wrestling characters in Japan.
Right.
I believe this is all just completely made up by Taito.
Okay.
Let me give Joel's testimonial a read. While not common, there are games that stick to a single main theme for almost the entirety of playtime. Two such tunes I can think of off the top of my head would be the main theme for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! And Bubble Bobble, both in the NES. Of course, sometimes this isn't a wise choice. Case in point, Ghostbusters for that same console. However, another song that nearly fits the bill would be the main track for Taito's Champion Wrestler, released in 1989, with composition being credited to Kazuyuki Pochi Onui and Hidehito Kitamura. Although conventional wisdom would suggest that repeating the same tune during a half-hour to full-hour playthrough might be unwise given how it would be prone to becoming repetitive and irritating, which is why this song fascinates me greatly. There's such great pacing to it, and I can honestly listen to it over and over and over, so I suppose the crew who made this achieved their goal. I will note that there is a different song that does sometimes play when the match approaches its climax, sort of like the music hits a faster tempo in Street Fighter II when one of the characters gets low on health, but the overwhelming vast majority of the gameplay will feature the song I selected here. I should probably add that there's a nostalgia factor at hand, since I played this game's arcade cabinet at a nearby video rental store when I was a kid. I feel these sorts of memories can add to the enjoyment we have as adults when we listen to them again. That being said, I truly feel that this music works very well on its own, and I'll bring up Punch-Out's main theme once again, since I think both tunes really have that intense, catchy beat that makes it work exceptionally well for a competitive sports title.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel, for your pick.
Minus the nostalgia, because I don't have any nostalgia for this game, but I think that kind of captures what I was kind of feeling there. Is like this didn't feel super repetitive. It didn't feel bland. It felt like I enjoyed kind of the two things playing off of each other there.
Sure. Joel's comments also ring true to the essence of our show, where we give you some info about the game, give you some info about the composition, and then if we have any nostalgia for it, we talk about that too. That's kind of our bag. That's kind of how we run the show.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Nostalgia absolutely colors a lot of what we talk about and how we feel about things.
For sure.
I mean, as you were just saying in Scotty's track, you have nostalgia for the NES version of TMNT and the SNES version of Turtles in Time. So you expect to hear those, and when you hear something that sounds different, it kind of doesn't feel right.
But that's kind of the beauty of what we do here too, because then you get to explore different avenues of VGM that you maybe aren't used to, and you get to compare and see what kind of vibes your interests, and what kind of gets your motor boating. I don't know. Boater moding.
Your boater?
Your boater moding.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like our show may be a little too serious at times. Do you get that vibe?
Not at all.
No, you don't think so?
I think we slide into a bit of seriousness usually when we're getting into the facts.
True.
Case in point, episode 99. I think we had fun with it, but I think because we were focusing on the history of Natsume, we tended to take a more serious approach to it. And especially when we're talking about the composers and whatnot, we're not making light of things. We're kind of giving you the facts. But whenever we're talking about the music or, our feelings and thoughts on things, we frequently get silly.
That's true. I think going forward, every episode, we should just have a pizza break.
A pizza break?
Yeah, where we just, take a bite of pizza.
Sure.
Take a slice of pizza, just have it ready, maybe air fry it or something. We'll get an air fryer, with the Patreon funds or something, I have an air fryer down upstairs, but, who wants to carry an air fryer downstairs?
No.
We'll
put it down here
put it down here, a little baby
studio.
air fryer,
And Janine can use it if she needs to.
Yeah, true. To heat up whatever it is that she eats down here.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I like pizza.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny if we just got like a sea of like new patrons?
Okay.
Oh, air fryer, great idea, guys.
We'll make that one of our
Patreon goals. Yeah. Air fryer.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So Hidehito Kitamura.
Yes, Hidehito has 2 audio tracks to their credit. This game, Champion Wrestler 1989, and then Battle Shark in 1989 as well. They did sound and music on that. And then Kazuyuki Onui started out doing Rastan in 1988 on the Sega Master System. So they did music on that. And let's see, we've got Superman Arcade in 1988, music composition.
Did a lot of arcade stuff.
Yeah, a lot of arcade and a lot of Sega Master System, it seems. Bubble Bobble, which Joel mentioned as well, although Joel mentioned the NES version, but they did the Sega Master System version 1988.
Right.
Very, very busy in the late 80s. And then, let's see, we got Sound Team by Zuntata, Night Striker 1989, music again on Rastan on the Game Gear in 1991, likely just a port of the Sega Master System version, all things considered.
Yeah, it seems like they shifted over to like a more music direction and sound editing role like later in their career.
Yeah, even sound effects.
Yeah.
The last music credit I see here looks to be Bubble Bobble on the Game Gear 1994. Again, likely just a port of the Master System Bubble Bobble game.
Yeah, there's a generic sound credit under Operation Thunderbolt that same year on the Super NES, but it's just kind of a generic like credit. It doesn't say specifically music like composition or just says sound.
Yeah.
So that could be their last.
Yeah, they actually only have 3 SNES credits, and they all look to be sound or sound editor.
Yeah.
Darius Twin in 91, Super Soccer Champion in 92, and then, like you said, Operation Thunderbolt.
They also did engineering on the Ninja Warriors on Sega CD, which that has a great soundtrack. So,
yeah, nice.
We also have a credit here for Zuntata, just like a generic credit. So maybe some other folks from Zuntata also worked on that. But if you want to know more about them, go to episode 57, because we did an entire episode on Zuntata.
Yes, they are amazing.
They are indeed. So, what to talk about now on the as far as the show goes?
Oh, we started with a single Yeti mic between us.
Yes.
In a tight space, and I'm trying to remember. I do remember that we had audio issues that we were working on, but I feel like it was mostly a matter of editing. Because I mean, our equipment has definitely improved, but and as of this episode, so has the background noise situation.
Yes,
but
you won't be hearing my horrific fan from my previous computer.
Honestly, I don't think anybody really ever hears or notices it, because we have the music playing in the background.
Sure.
But now with the extra level of silence, I think things will pop a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, I do remember having some trouble like leveling and normalizing and trying to make everything sound relatively even.
Yeah, we had a lot of initial problems getting that done, because initially that was a real challenge for doing the show, because my previous co-host on Pixel Tunes, Ed, who now is on the VG Embassy, he was the one that was like putting everything together, and now I was kind of taking on that role, and I was like,
you guys didn't split like we do?
We split editing, we didn't split leveling. He leveled everything, and he had his crazy magic that he did to make the show sound great.
Oh yeah, but that's what I do.
Well, right. So I passed it off to you.
You did.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, I think you've done a great job with the sound on the show, and it sounds really good. Everything sounds really level now. I don't know. I think this show sounds better than ever. So.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that is actually kind of credit to Ed.
For sure.
I know somewhere in the last like 20 or 30 episodes, he discovered something that helped him with his leveling and normalization, and he mentioned it to me, and I was like, well, so he offered to, because it was not a free app, so he was like, send me some stuff and I'll show you like what it spits out. And after I think one episode of him helping me, I was like, no, we're spending our Patreon money on this because it's absolutely worth it.
For sure. Teach me your ways, Ed Wilson.
Yeah, seriously.
Cool. All right, let's move on to our next pick.
All right, throwing the die. 4 again.
4 again. All right, we're moving on up. We got 1, 2, 3.
Brad Austin.
All right. Brad Austin chose Deltarune Chapter 1 on the PC. This came out in 2018, and the track is called Field of Hopes and Dreams. Probably doesn't have any Kevin Costner in it. It's by Toby Fox.
You're listening to XVGM Radio.
All right, welcome back. That was Deltarune Chapter 1. Came out on the PC in 2018. That was Field of Hopes and Dreams, and it's by Toby Fox. I have not played a single Toby Fox game, but I really dig this song. Really love that piano melody, and how can you not love that sax, right?
Oh, that sax solo was very unexpected.
So good. What about you? What do you think of this one?
I thought it was really cool. So I, too, have not played any of the Toby Fox games, or at least what I consider Toby Fox games, which is Undertale and Deltarune Chapters 1 and 2 so far. I do know that they've done music on other games, like they have an uncredited arrangement on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, but if we're talking about Toby Fox did the games of Undertale and Delta, he's not just the music composer; like they are Toby Fox games.
Right.
So I've watched playthroughs of Undertale. Like there was a point in which I was going to play it, and then when it was popular, my life was too hectic, and I was just like, I'll watch some playthroughs. I have not seen anything about Deltarune. I think they're related in some way. Like Deltarune is an anagram of Undertale.
Undertale, yeah.
So my assumption is that they are they're related. Maybe they're not. Who knows? The games often look like they're like 16-bit-ish. I'm not sure if they're 8-bit or 16-bit, but I think they're 16-bit. I think there's too many colors.
Yeah.
But this track, I think that's what I was getting at. It was very cool. This is kind of reminiscent of the Naruto track in that it's a lot more chill than some of the other stuff that we've had. I know that you and I tend to pick a lot of like more upbeat and crazy tracks, and I think a lot of our listeners may also so far I feel like we've had 3 tracks that have been straight up bangers and 2 tracks that have been really good, but more low key. Like, I wouldn't call this a banger because it feels very, very chill to me.
I love these episodes though because we get to hear stuff that we wouldn't normally pick on the show, and that's so important too. I remember when we were starting the show, I did want to bring like a sense of community to the show because we didn't have that on Pixel Tunes Radio. We basically picked all the tracks and we didn't really have anybody else like picking anything. So, we have our patron picks, which, people pick if we have a themed episode, usually we try to reach out and have, one of our patrons pick a song. Or, we'll do like episodes like this, where we'll have listener requests. So I don't know, maybe we could do more of that in the future. I mean, we also do it on Patreon too for our live shows where we'll do like patron picks like a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Is cool.
I think we have twice a year our patron pick episodes, and like a couple times a year our patron picks the theme.
Yes, which is cool. So Brad wrote, me and my daughter have been really getting into Undertale and Deltarune, especially the music. That echoey synth sound gives me Secret of Mana vibes. Also, just when you think it's going to loop, Toby hits you with that sweet, sexy sax solo. Any track is instantly made better by a sax solo. Am I right?
You are right.
You are right, Brad. Good pick. Toby Fox, who we haven't really talked too much about on this show.
No, I think we've only ever... I'm trying to think if we played an Undertale track maybe on a Patreon episode.
Maybe, yeah.
I know we have played something by him.
Their first game was Hive Swap Act 1, which came out in 2017. And they continued to make games, including Wander Song in 2018. They did Arrangement that they were uncredited for on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Switch. As well as a game called Escaped Chasm. I almost said Chasm. Chasm, which came out on the Mac in 2019. But then their newest game was Omori, which came out on Windows in 2020. So that's that. Undertale, I don't see an audio credit for, nor do I see Deltarune on here, which is odd because they did the music for it. So I don't know why that is the way it is.
It wasn't Patreon. It looks like we played an Undertale track on episode 21 and another Undertale track on episode 61.
Oh, okay. What was 21? Was that no nostalgia picks?
Episode 21. Oh, Lame Genie.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. They did a track and then they did a version of the song and then we played
it was Asgore or something.
Yeah.
And then 61 was Spooky Fest 2020.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that was so long ago. Yeah. How did we come up with Janine?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I think it was just a wild and wacky idea.
Do you remember our first like meetup to talk about getting ideas for the show? Oh. We went to a diner, just you and me. Yeah, and actually no, I think my wife was there too. And we went to the diner and we sat down with a notebook and I went over ideas with you.
I don't remember that.
No, you don't remember that? Yeah, that's what we did.
Huh.
I remember that. Yeah. Because I had a bunch of ideas for what I wanted to do. But we were struggling with names for what to call the show. We were trying to figure out like what internet radio was.
Well, no. So that part I remember because I remember I was at work. We were going back and forth for a while trying to come up with a name for the show. And I remember when we ended up landing on this, I was at work and my friend Kit was working as an I don't know if she was working as an intern for me or if she was if she was in a full-time role just in the same organization. But I remember you brought up KVGM, so you were like, what about WVGM? Because we're on the East Coast.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't really, it just wasn't vibing with me.
Yeah.
And I remember I was chatting with her about it, and she was like, well, it's internet based, right? Well, what about XVGM? And I was like, what do you mean? And she explained to me that like there's a lot of internet radio stations that just for their call sign will throw an X on the front instead of a W or a K.
That's
and I was
right.
like, XVGM, that sounds really cool. Like I like that. I sent it to you, and you were like. You were also like, that's really cool.
I thought, wow, this sounds like cutting edge.
Yeah.
Because WVGM, the way I was thinking about it was having a background in radio as I did. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm thinking of the call letters for radio stations. So, and then I was thinking back to that. What was the Howard Stern movie? What was it called? Like Picture Perfect.
Private Parts.
Private Parts. That's right. So Private Parts in that scene where they're like WNBC, and I was thinking VGM. So that's kind of how that all came about. And then
that would have gone over differently if you'd actually explained that to me. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when I was trying to come up with something. And I think at one point we did potentially settle on KVGM for initially. Do you remember that? We were going back and forth between WVGM, KVGM, and XVGM. And I think what happened was we found that there was a WVGM, like some random radio station in like North Dakota or something like that. And same thing with KVGM. I think we looked it up and we saw that there was like another like radio station called KVGM or something like that. So then we looked up XVGM and literally nothing came up. So we were like, deal, let's go with that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that then shortly thereafter, after we formed the podcast, maybe about a year or so after, we discovered KVGM, which is run by our good friend Hammock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's this is why my memory is such a muddled ball of mistakes, because I thought we did know about KVGM the last wave, although I don't know.
KVGM wasn't out at that point.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure when KVGM actually started.
I think they started about a year after we started, because they were relatively brand new on the scene, I'd say within a year of us coming out. So XVGM came out in June of 2018, and I think they were, because we had them on, our 31st episode? That was the summertime episode that we did?
Yeah, that was episode 32.
32.
Summer Jams with KVGM.
Summer Jams, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. That was a good episode.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next pick.
All right, how many more do we have left here? 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, so we will roll a D6. Get out of there. All right, that says 6. So that's the last one. It's going to be Rob Nichols.
Oh, man. Mr. Rhythm and Pixels himself.
Mr. Rhythm. We
Mr. Rhythm.
Mr. Pixels.
We played Mr. Pixels.
Now we're playing Mr. Rhythm.
All right. So what are we playing?
So Rob has requested a track from Bust a Groove 2. This is a 1999 game that came out on the PS1. The track is Moonlight Party, Kelly's theme, and this is the English version. And it is composed by DJ Hasebe featuring Emiko.
Take my hand and hold on tight, and we'll be as one. The everlasting aching pain that has been clinging all on you. Cast it aside, just one now, and look up to the
Welcome back. That was Rob Nichols' pick from Bust a Groove 2. Came out on the PS1 in 1999. Moonlight Party. Kelly's Theme English was the track, and it was by DJ Hisebe featuring Emiko.
Cool.
Oh, very
Funky.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that super fat bass throughout the entire thing.
Loved it.
I really, really enjoyed that. If it were any fatter, it'd be Buzzy.
Yeah, I will say that the beginning of this song sounds a lot like the arcade version of Killer Instinct for TJ Combo's theme. I believe it's TJ Combo's theme. There's police sirens, and there's also another like fat funky beat and bass line, and then there's like PCM samples thrown in there with female singing like yeah. That might be from the Killer Cut CD and not from the arcade version, but I think it's from the arcade version too. So yeah.
Yeah, not often we get a track with lyrics like this. So I mean, this is a treat in multiple ways. I mean, for one, super funky, which we enjoy. Really enjoy that fat bass, and the lyrics were really cool.
Yeah, this is a rhythm game, right?
Rhythm fighting,
Of course.
Yeah,
That's such a Rob
I was gonna say that's Rob in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
He comes from the fighting game world. He is DDR master, or maybe it's Pump It Up. I mean, he plays all those things.
He plays all the rhythm games. Pretty much like anytime we've gone to a con where
the
they've
groove,
been,
yeah.
we will usually find them in the arcade playing some rhythm game, sweating their butts off. So
Yeah.
getting in their workout. That's why those guys are so thin. I need to jump on that train.
Yeah, well, I mean, Purnell works out.
He does.
He goes to a gym. He actually does work out.
Yep.
And Rob's workout is the DDR machine in his basement.
Yeah, pretty much. It's cool. I mean, like I've known these guys for years, and I know their picks, and they're usually spot on with good tunes. I mean, their show is a reflection of that too. Of course, we love their show, and
Yes.
we love those guys. So, cheers to Rob for throwing us this pick. Great stuff. I've not played any Bust a Groove games. Truth be told, I love rhythm games.
Yeah.
I haven't played
I don't
this
think
one.
I have too. I keep seeing the name Bust a Groove and thinking like, oh yes, but there's Bust a Groove, there's Bust a Move, there's Bubble Bobble.
Bust a
there's
Move is the Bubble Bobble characters, but it's like, you rotate the ball and then you shoot it.
It's Snood.
Snood, yeah, but pre-Snood, because that came first.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
Yeah, how dare you?
Snood is a Bubble Bobble.
Yes,
or
or
not
a
Bubble
Bust a
Bobble,
Move.
Bust a Move riff off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm the same. Like I always confuse Bust a Move with Bust a Groove and vice versa.
Yep.
But yeah, no, this one's published by Enix. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
So there is a story apparently because this game is a legitimate sequel. It takes place a year after Bust a Groove 1.
Okay.
And it shares the same overall kind of gameplay, combining dance moves and special abilities designed to damage the opponent. So it's like a dance-off.
Okay.
It's a rhythm dancing game with fighting because it's a dance-off. So you guys you do your things, your opponent does their things, and it damages your probably pride meter or something.
So it's Zoolander.
Yeah,
Or breakdance fighting.
or Guardians of the Galaxy, or and any other movie that has a silly dance-off moment.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yes,
That
yes.
had a dance off.
It did. I forgot about that.
There you go. Boom. Nailed it.
Dirty Dancing.
There you go.
Saturday Night Fever. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, you're done. All right.
Well, there is a thing called Fever Time, so that was apropos.
Yes.
If you get a high enough score by completing a stage with very few mistakes or missed actions, a special dance solo starring the winner of the round takes place immediately when the round ends, and this is known as Fever Time.
Okay. Kelly, as far as I can tell, is like a police officer in this.
Is she?
I think so.
She has a megaphone. She screams towards her opponents for her jammer move.
That's her attack, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this track is also known as like the Kelly / McLeod theme, and so Kelly is one character, and McLeod is a hidden character who uses the same dance style as Kelly. So
Okay.
I guess maybe this is tied more to the style than it is the characters, but
McLeod is a dragon.
so and for him, instead of pulling out a megaphone, he breathes fire. That
Right.
makes sense because he's a dragon. Okay,
Right,
that's cool.
right.
And I'm like reading these things without having the context. I'm like, that's weird. But
Yeah.
as we go through it, it makes more sense.
I'm seeing a bunch of girls cosplaying as Kelly, and I'm just like, man, that's so like 90s cosplay, like the outfit. It looks just like totally 90s. It's got like the hot pants for the shorts, and then the cop top, and then the cop hat.
Oh, I see. Yeah, with the exposed midriff.
Yeah, yeah.
The short shorts.
Yep,
okay.
yep. Rob's testimonial is literally just one sentence. It says, "Gotta show some love for Busta Groove." He was probably too busy dancing while writing that. All right, let's roll the dice. Let's move on.
All right. Next up, we've got numero 40, which is Hammock. We were just talking about KVGM, and now it's Hammock's turn.
Oh, boy.
In the episode 100 Spotlight.
He picked Anna Kournikovas' Smash Court Tennis, also known as Smash Court 2. This came out on the PS1 in 1998. This is BGM 02, also known as Times Square Stage, and it's by Nobuhiro Aochi, Kaori Idaya, Kenji Matsuo, and Masashi Sugiyama, as well as Ayako Yamaguchi. You're listening to XVGM Radio. Thanks for joining us back on our 100th episode. That was Hammock's pick. Anna Kournikovas' Smash Court Tennis, also known as Smash Court 2. This came out on the PlayStation 1 in 1998. This is BGM02, also known as the Times Square stage, and it's by Nobuhiro Auchi, Kaori Idaya, Kenji Matsuo, Masashi Sugiyama, and Ayako Yamaguchi. Tons of composers on this one.
Yeah. We'll split those up later. But again, I feel like we have a really good mix of chill tracks and boppin' tracks this episode.
Super chill. I mean, it's Hammock.
To be expected from Hammock. Yes,
Hammock.
Absolutely. And I mean, he
Lord Chill
brought the thunder, as it were. And I mean, thunder's the wrong word.
Not even thunder, like the rainstorm.
Yeah. I assume you like it because I heard some of the things that I know that you tend to enjoy, like some of the breakbeat stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was digging this.
But yeah, tell me what you thought.
Yeah, I really like the groovy bass line for sure. This takes me back to like the early 2000s era. Even though it came out in 98, this really takes me back to like the early 2000s, a lot of the Matrix style music where they had like the orchestral mixed with the breakbeat type stuff. The like the big booming beats of the early 2000s, late 90s. So that's kind of what this reminded me of. And it's cool. It's not something that I generally listen to like a lot, especially when I'm driving around. But like if it's on, I'll rock out to it for sure. Like it's good stuff. If I hear it in the game, I'll rock out to it too. But I love this type of tunage. I just don't really get to hear it that often because it's not my go-to.
Yeah, and this came out of a tennis game, of all things.
That's not surprising. There's so many amazing soundtracks in sports games. You really have to dive into it.
That's true, but this track doesn't scream tennis to me, is what I was trying to say.
It screams Anna Kournikova.
Does it really?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know anything about Anna Kournikova. So
I don't either, but I assume this is what goes on in her brain. This is the music that plays in her brain.
I think it was Anna Kournikova's Smash Court Tennis in maybe Europe and America. So you mentioned it also known Smash Court 2. Like that's the Japanese name. I don't know at what point Anna Kournikova became involved in this.
Probably when it came over to the U.S., I would imagine.
Yeah. Well,
that's my guess.
I was thinking either U.S. or Europe. Actually,
true.
Looks like this was only released in Japan and Europe.
Oh, that makes sense.
I guess this didn't come out in America.
There's a lot of PAL exclusive games that do have licensees for like sports people. I mean, perfect example is Jimmy White's Too Cute to Ball.
Yeah.
Too Cute to Ball. But yeah, no, I really like this. It was good. So, first composer on this one, Nobuhiro Auchi, started off with Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Heyo on the arcade, doing sound design. And then they did Klonoa Empire of Dreams for the Game Boy Advance in 2001. And their latest game is DC Superhero Girls Teen Power, which came out on the Switch in 2021, where they did sound effects for music composition, New Chugaku Etango Target 1800 DS, which came out on the DS.
Interesting.
So, yeah, they kind of bounce back and forth between like Namco and Nintendo and Capcom, so they're kind of all over the place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaori Idaya, this is their only music credit for this game. Everything else is either sound or sound effects. So we'll say their first credit is in 1995 on Namco Museum Volume 1 for the PlayStation. And their most recent was from 2004, doing sound design on Smash Court Tennis Pro Tournament 2. That was on the PS2.
So Kenji Matsuo also has Namco Museum Volume 1 as their first game, followed up with Volume 4 the following year. And then after the game that we're talking about right now, they did Dragon Valor in 99 and then Rescue Shot in 2000.
Masashi Sugiyama, and this also appears to be their first game in 1998. And then music composition on We Love Katamari in 2005 on the PS2. And then we'll go 2009, they did sound direction on a Wii game called The Munchables.
Oh.
And their most recent is 2018's Nintendo Switch game Gal Metal.
So Ayako Yamaguchi, who's our final composer, started off with this game in 1998, and then Dragon Valor was their follow-up. They worked quite a bit, it looks like, with Nobuhiro Auchi, doing games like Klonoa 2, Goemon Shin Sedai Shumei. Their latest game, they also did the Munchables, but their latest game is Bakugan Battle Brawlers on the Wii in 2009. They did sound design.
Nice.
Yeah.
Before we move on, we should read Hammock's testimonial here. When Hammock sent us this track, he said, "Yo, hope I'm not too late. Here's my track submission for the big show. Hope you enjoy, and congrats on episode 100. Cheers."
Thanks, Hammock.
Thank you very much, Hammock. We appreciate that.
Indeed. All right. Before we get to the next track, any warm, fuzzy XVGM memories you want to talk about for our first 100?
Absolutely zero. No.
Zero. All right. I will say, I remember you being very green with VGM. Like, I think you had definitely an appreciation for VGM and you were interested in VGM. And I think that was one of the cool things about doing the show with you, because I got to see you embrace stuff like the Sega Genesis, which you kind of strayed away from initially, and exploring some more obscure stuff. But I gotta ask, like, starting off with the first episode, you know, we played it safe. We did like Nintendo and stuff like that.
Of course. We want to do something catchy that people would be interested to seek out.
That was the goal. But now, you know, 100 episodes in, do you on your own like go out and seek forth like obscure VGM like I do? Or are you more like, oh, I gotta pick songs for this dumb podcast I'm on? Let me
I'm somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
So I don't specifically go out looking for obscure stuff unless I'm looking for something for an episode. Like, I usually try to pick some things that I know will like maybe recognizable, or some things that I have nostalgia or that I enjoy. And then I try to force myself out of my comfort zone by saying like, oh, let's look at something from TurboGrafx, or let's look at something from the PC-98 or Sega Master System or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I specifically try to not just always go like, oh, these are all very obvious Justin picks.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, at the beginning, I remember coming into this with an assumption that I was like, oh, this is going to be like a cakewalk. I love VGM.
Yeah.
Because, like, there was definitely a period in my life where I had a lot of VGM on, like, I would make mix CDs with VGM, and there was a lot of stuff that I liked, but a lot of stuff that I liked was stuff that was relatively popular, like a lot of your Nobuo Uematsu stuff and stuff and things like that. So getting more into the podcast definitely made me seek out other things. And I mean, the Genesis stuff, I partly play it for a laugh, but there was definitely, especially at the beginning, I don't know that I would call it animosity, but there was definitely some real like distaste for the sounds of the Genesis, aside from, you know, the people who knew how to handle that system.
Sure.
I loved a lot of the stuff from Sonic games, and that was mostly what I'd played.
Right.
And anything else that I'd played on the Genesis was Gems Driver stuff.
Right.
And I mean, we did the best and worst of, and there is some great Gems Driver stuff out there, but my experience just happened to be with a lot of the worst of the worst.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat that, you know, we were able to kind of share VGM with each other, because that's really what the show is not only us sharing it with the listener, but also, you know, me sharing it with you and you sharing it with me, and that's kind of how the basis of the show is. So
yeah, I would actually say one of my favorite things that we did in that respect was I forget what number it was, but the homework episode.
Yeah,
was it homework, or did we call it reverse picks?
Reverse picks,
where homework was cool too.
Yeah,
I think you gave me some games or tracks, and I gave you some games or tracks. But the one where it was like, okay, we want to go out and find tracks that we think the other would pick, or that the other would like, was a lot of fun. And it was like there was definitely some like hits and misses, but it was a fun episode to do, because it's not just getting out of your comfort zone, it's like trying to get into somebody else's head.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, that was episode 46, Reverse Picks. That was a fun episode to do. I'd like to do more stuff like that in our next like 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe some more stuff like that. Same song, different system stuff should return. I mean,
we've had a pretty good breadth of topics and whatnot, and a lot of which we've only touched on once. Like, I feel like we've done 2 or 3 same song, different system episodes, but we've only really done one remix episode.
Personally, I'm most proud of our choices for themes on this show, because I think we have some of the best variety of any VGM podcast in terms of what we offer for themes.
Best variety of the 80s, 90s, and today.
That's it. XVGM Radio. Hey.
Yeah,
All right.
No, I agree.
Let's pick our next track.
All right, let's throw this down at 2.
That would be Curly Kevin Stevens.
All right. So this actually comes with an audio file that will play and then go into the song.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Justin. This is Curly Kevin from Discord. Just want to say congratulations on 100 episodes, into 100 more. And I also wanted to thank you for introducing me to the VGM online community. Actually, I found the last episode of EPISODES Radio. It just came to mind, hey, let's find some VGM. Maybe there's podcasts to do that. And then you announced you're going to be doing XVGM. And so I joined on to the XVGM episode, I think it was in 2019. And so from there, that introduced me to different composers, different music, Rhythm and Pixels, Robin Purnell, and the other VGM podcasters and podcasts that are out there. And also made me think about doing a podcast myself. So we'll see what happens with 2023 and 2024. You also introduced me to Paradise Killer when you had Barry Topping on the show. I downloaded the game, I played it, and I remember Justin and I having a Discord conversation about the ending to the game if we found the true ending, per se, because you can end the game at any time. But one thing is, the soundtrack's fantastic. So my suggestion for your 100 episode is to go back to Paradise Killer, but let's go back to the new released About That, the Paradise Killer B-sides. And my track suggestion is Moonrise Rapture and About That, because Moonrise Rapture is a introduction to the vocal version of About That. And that's the vocal version I'll be suggesting. It doesn't play in the game that I know of. I only know that the instrumental is in the game, but the track's really hot with the vocals. It's fantastic. Fiona Lynch is on the voice. So, hope you guys enjoy. To 100 more. Thank you so much. Have fun.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks a lot. Let's hear it.
right, that was Curly Kevin Stevens' pick from Paradise Killer, or at least the B-side album from Paradise Killer, which came out on the Switch and PC in 2020. The track or tracks were Moonrise Rapture into About That by Barry Epic Topping, and the vocals, by the way, by Fiona Lynch. She did the vocals on the rest of the actual album for that game. Fantastic.
Oh my God.
I
love her voice.
Her voice is amazing. Barry's composition is amazing. The game is amazing. Like, we gushed the hell out of this game when we talked with Barry about it. And anytime that we have kind of done a focus on a game and talked to the composer, I've played it. I played through Time Spinner when we did that with Jeff Ball. That was a great game as well, but I don't know that anything that I've done like that has really hit the sweet spot of Paradise Killer. I was surprised at how much I liked the game, because I like Phoenix Wright and I like games like that in general. And then when I saw that it was like in a first person view and like open world, it's like, okay. But I got sucked into the game.
Did you?
The game itself was fun, but the music is really...
It keeps you into the game.
It really does.
For sure.
And I mean, I've lamented to death how I upset that I didn't end up getting the vinyl for this B-side.
Yeah.
But I bought the album on Bandcamp as soon as I knew about it. And I frequently listen to it. And this song, the second half anyway, about that, because it comes up randomly on my playlist. Every time I'm driving, the song comes on. It's just a good time.
The whole soundtrack is great to listen to in the car, or just really in general. It's awesome. I don't know why I still don't have the vinyl for this. I don't know. This or the original.
I got the original as soon as I could.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so upset that I missed out on this one.
Yeah, it's such a great soundtrack, and I was so stoked to talk to Barry about it.
I remember when you
I was the one that told you about
it. Night ones. You're like, yo, check this out, and I was like, okay.
You love those 11 p.m. texts from me that I'm just like, dude, you got to check out this soundtrack. It'll be like a random Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, this soundtrack is the reason. Anytime you do text me about something like that, I check it out immediately because I was like, you write about Paradise Killer. I loved that.
Yeah, so good. So. Yeah, man, it's got a great soundtrack. This song is incredible. I haven't really heard much from the B-side, even though you gave me the album, but like, it is so good. I just love the throwback R&B vibe. I love those vocals. She sounds incredible. I could listen to her sing me about the phone book. You know what I mean? Like, she's got a great voice. So it's awesome. And Barry's just killing it on this track. Just like between the sax and the funky beat and just everything. It's a perfect track.
Yeah.
For a great
I love how sassy it is too. Like if you read the lyrics or you just pay attention to what's going on, like she is sassy.
Fits with the tone of Lady Love Dies, yes. Man, I got stuck in this game. Like, I really enjoyed it. I got a long time in. I was talking to people left and right, trying to piece together clues and stuff. The game was definitely a little difficult initially, like, when I started playing it, but, like, now I'm kind of stuck. Like, I just don't know where to go. It's one of those times. So I'm still working through it, but I love the colorful cast of characters. I love how, like, most of them just are constantly flirting with you. Like, the entire, like, that's just... It's a fun game that is very open-ended and gives you quite a challenge, all while being, like, interesting. So
yeah. I do remember there were a few parts where I kind of got stuck for a while too. It's really about talking to everybody about everything and exploring. Like there were some things when I got stuck. The way that I got unstuck was I found an area that I was like, oh, I didn't realize I could get up here. Oh, and there's stuff here.
Yeah.
So it's there's some things that are really well hidden. There's some things that you really cannot find until the end, like the very end.
I love unlocking music too.
Yes.
So you get to unlock like tracks throughout the game. So I mean, we've talked to death about this game. We did a whole episode on it. So go check out episode 70 where we interviewed Barry Topping, the composer, and you can hear more awesome killer jams from Paradise Killer. Who's your favorite composer that we interviewed?
I think it would be Barry.
We have Coda. Coda was our first composer.
Coda's
episode
great.
5.
Jeff Ball.
Yeah, Jeff Ball on episode 15. And then Freedom Planet, which was episode 25 with Woofle. And then Perfect Dark, episode 30 with Grant Kirkhope. And then Matt Creamer, who we had on for Shakedown Hawaii in episode 38.
And again, recently for Slain too.
Right. Val Ferris with Kurt Victor Bryant. Ukulele with David Wise and Grant Kirkhope. Of course, the Paradise Killer interview that we just spoke about, episode 70. Right. Barry Leach, who we interviewed on episode 82.
Nicole Marie T. we did.
Nicole Marie T. episode 92.
See, that's hard because every one of those composers was a pleasure to have on.
Sure, of course.
I feel like a lot of the ones we did in the beginning felt more businessy, and as we, like, the one with Matt Kramer was very, very laid back.
Loosey-goosey, because we knew Matt,
yeah,
right?
well, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the other ones, like the one with Nicole Marie T., I feel like was pretty laid back.
Yeah, that was cool.
Maybe it's just because of the fact that we just listened to a track from it, but I think I have to say Barry Topping, because it was so much fun talking about the music and the game with him, and I think I was in progress of playing the game when we were talking, so I distinctly remember him telling us that he was the voice of one of the characters, and I was like, wait, oh my god, it is. Like, I just remember having that realization, like, oh, that's so funny.
He knew a lot about the lore and about the more internals of the game than most composers that we've spoken to. They were very much like, I'm a fan of VGM, like, I'm a fan of game music, I'm a fan of games.
Right.
First and foremost, and that love kind of came out, with all the work that they've done.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree that I have like different things that I love about every single one that we've done. I will say that the Perfect Dark interview that we did, I was super nervous for.
Oh, yeah.
I was that and the David Wise one, I was super nervous for.
Yeah, well, those are like your holy grails right there.
Yeah, like that was just so incredible to talk to both of them, and to have Grant come back for a second time too was great. Both of them super nice, but I was just like terrified I was going to make a fool of myself, and I kind of did in a lot of ways, but like I was geeking out. I was like loving the fact that we were talking to these legends. So both episodes I was so excited to do. I remember just being super nervous during the Grant Kirkhope one.
Yeah.
And being like, oh my God, like, we got to make sure that we get this. Like, I was double, triple checking our recording software and making sure that everything was perfect. So that was nerve-wracking, but that was a lot of fun. And I love how Grant, even to this day, is like, this is the longest I've ever talked about Perfect Dark to anybody. So
I remember that. Yep.
You're welcome, Internet. But yeah, we could talk more about some of our favorite guests, too, throughout the show, as well, maybe some of our favorite episodes as we go on. But I think it's time to pick another track.
All right, that is going to be the top of the list here. I believe that is Chris Murray.
Oh yeah, Legend of Heroes Hajimari no Kiseki is his choice, and that came out on the PS4 in 2020. The track is called Like a Whirlwind, and it's by Falcom. Of course, Chris Murray picks Falcom.
What?
Falcom Sound Team JDK. All right, thanks for joining us back on episode 100, Listener Requests. That was from Chris Murray, and he picked The Legend of Heroes Hajimari no Kiseki, the PlayStation 4 game that came out in 2020. That was by Falcom Sound Team JDK, and it's called Like a Whirlwind. And that was a whirlwind. That just flew right by.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a quick track, but it also didn't linger. It was quick, it was to the point, and I feel like I could do with more of it. Like, if this is one of those tracks that loops in a game, 100% I'm down with it. It also felt very much like an anime tune.
Yes.
Like this is an action. I mean, I understand the Legend of Heroes games are very anime cinematic-esque, but like the more I hear from these games, the more I'm like, just give me the anime. Just give me the anime. I want to watch this.
Right. Chris wrote, "It's Falcom. You're welcome. Also, congratulations, my friends. Keep the bits coming." Good old Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, man. Chris is a huge fan of Falcom games. And
you don't
music.
say.
Yeah. I think it was maybe Pixel Tunes or maybe XVGM. I can't remember. But at some point in time, we played the Sunset from East 8. It was on the East episode, I believe, on Pixel Tunes. And I think that's what got him into it. I'm happy about that.
So what I'm hearing is this is all your fault.
Yeah, pretty much. That checks out. You know, I'm pretty happy about that though. I like the fact that we get people into games and soundtracks. That happens to me when I find something new, you know, sound-wise, especially for when I'm doing this show or maybe even when I listen to another show, like one of our podcasts that we all follow. And I'll come across the track and be like, whoa, this is awesome. I need to pick up this game or I need to check this out. So this game, Legend of Heroes, I don't have any experience with this franchise. I know it's a big franchise that's very well known.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a cult following a little bit. But it plays very similar to the Trails of Cold Steel tetralogy, as it's a traditional JRPG with turn-based battles. It's got a new feature called the Crossroads system, where players can switch between 3 different story arcs. And the game takes place 5 months after the end of the Great Twilight, which was in Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 4.
Okay.
But I'm not going to dive into the story and everything. It's
deep. There's a lot there.
There's a lot. Yeah. I mean, these are games that all have like cross-pollination with each other and follow-ups and whatnot. So
yeah,
you got to get into it.
The multiple stories thing actually kind of reminds me of Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
So I haven't grabbed that game yet, but it's one of those games that's on my list. Looks really neat.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear that, you know, this game does something similar.
Falcom Sound Team JDK has many composers. I mean, we've played them numerous times on the show. I don't think we need to go into it just for the sake of brevity. So that's about it.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of composers on. We've had a lot of other podcasters on.
Sure.
We've had a lot of guests in general. And we're also trying to line up a lot more. But some of the really interesting guests that we have had on are our musical guests, not necessarily our composers, but the guests that are musical in nature, our Lame Genies, our Knight of the Round, our Lucia Lorezza. So I'm curious about your thoughts on that. You know, if you have a favorite guest that we've done or just a favorite moment from one of those.
Oh, from one of those. I love that first Lame Genie episode that we did. Just because those guys were so chill and so cool, and it was just great to talk to them. And I love that they are great musicians, but they're not like super knowledgeable on VGM. Like they don't know composers like the back of their hand. And that's not me trying to throw shade at them at all. They just simply don't. And I know this because every single time we see them at a convention or just hanging out or whatever, we'll start to get talking about something that they've been working on. And I'll be like, oh, that's composed by blah, blah, blah. And then like either me or you or one of us will go into like a whole tangent on like composers. And they just look at us like, how do you know all this?
I remember when we were at Too Many Games.
We were talking about having them on as a Xenoblade episode.
Oh yeah, and even they were just like, I don't know, because we don't really know enough about the games or the composers.
Yeah,
we are trying to get them back for something in the near future. But they're a pleasure to have on the show. They're really awesome people just in person.
They're great to eat tacos with.
And I was just going to say, and they are great to go to Taco Bell with.
Yes.
It's one of the things that we have in common with them is we are both trying to get sponsored sponsored by Taco
Yes,
Bell.
yes. Yeah, they were really great. I also really liked Lucia Larezza.
Yep.
That was really cool because that was like our first like kind of deviation from the more like heavy metal kind of rock-based stuff into something that was a little bit more classical oriented because she was like a trained violinist and everything. So I thought that was really cool to get her insight. And that was our second female guest. So I always like hearing from people that are not just straight white dudes. Just because you get a different perspective on their outlook of, there's just too many, like, no offense, I'm not trying to start like a race war here, but there's just too many white
straight
dudes.
white dude.
But that's my point, is like, it's like you can hear a bunch of straight white dudes talk about gaming and game music all day long because there's dozens of podcasts featuring straight white dudes.
Yeah.
So it's always unique and fun and different to hear from somebody who's not that on the show.
Yeah.
So we try to always get like guests to give us a different take on what they do. We just had Ro Panaganti on.
Yes.
Fairly recently, who did the Arwing Odyssey album, the remix album.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, too.
That was cool. So it's great because we get to learn about them as people, too. You know, like where they grew up, how VGM entered their lives. When we talked to Lucia about how she got started as an interest in video game music, and, she was talking about some of the games that she was checking out, some of the Nobuo Uematsu games and whatnot. It was cool because we were like, oh, you're from another part of the world.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And yet you have the same experience that we do in terms of like finding VGM and stuff like that. So it was cool. So those two definitely stood out to me as really exciting and interesting and different. So what's coming up next? We got 2 picks left.
We do, so even Muddle Madness.
All right. Muddle Madness picked Tower of Heaven, which was a Windows game that came out in 2009. This track is called Indignant Divinity, and it's by Flashy Goodness.
All right. Thank you for listening. We are rounding the bend. We got one more track to go after this, but that was Muddle Madness's pick. Tower of Heaven was the game. It came out in 2009 on the PC, and the track was Indignant Divinity, and it was composed by Flashy Goodness.
Oh, man. I really like that. They were very chippy.
Yeah.
Had a lot of arpeggios floating around in there. It's cool.
Yeah. I feel like I heard a lot of different influences in that, and I'm having trouble kind of picking them out. I wrote down Sunsoft. I didn't quite hear that Sunsoft bass per se, but some of the sounds that I was hearing reminded me of some of the sounds that came out of things like Blaster Master, And then I feel like I heard some like Konami Contra stuff in there as well. Mostly in the realm of the white noise or percussion. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I just know, like, I wrote things down as I was hearing them.
Interesting.
And there's a lot there. So this came out in 2009. So and this kind of brings me back to this era, which I feel was a lot of the aughts, the 2000s, where, you know, people were composing chiptune tracks. And there was I remember a lot of argument where people were like, oh man, check out this cool 8-bit track. And then everybody that was like really serious about video game music was like, this isn't really 8-bit because there's too many channels. And it's the 8-bit feel, but there's more than you could have actually done in a true 8-bit environment.
Right.
But like, these aren't sounds that are coming out of an SNES. These are sounds that are coming out of maybe multiple NESs or something.
Sure.
But all that to say, I love it.
Flashy Goodness, composition-wise, has been doing this since 2009, and I agree that this is much more of a chiptune vibe than a video game music, kind of like traditional game music sound. It's more like chiptune, like the scene type stuff.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was going
yeah.
on during
like the
that
demo
time.
scene.
Yeah, like demo scene stuff. So, but 2009, this was their first game, and then they moved on to stuff like Grid Defender 2, One Curious Nightfall.
A Cake for Cherry.
They did some short films like A Cake for Cherry, Super Secret Service, and then they started working on the Aether series, Rivals of Ether, Lovers of Ether, Creatures of Ether, and Dungeons of Ether.
Which is a 2023 release.
Correct, yeah. So, pretty neat stuff. The game itself, you play as a character named Eid or Eid. I don't know, E-I-D. They are silent protagonists. They have like an onion-shaped head. They're scaling the Tower of Heaven, which is this giant monolith thing that if you scale it, it promises you like hopes and dreams and whatnot. So that's pretty much it. The game has a speedrun mode in it as well. Pretty neat.
I've never heard of this composer or this game, but
Neither have I.
I'm gonna have to just check out some of the other stuff that that they have, because I'm curious kind of where they went. Like they've been doing this in 2009, so that's 14 years of video game and other kind of music. And I noticed on some of their newer games, specifically Dungeons of Aether, they're listed music YM2608 FM with Resoforce. So like they're doing. It's not just like this all sounds like NES based stuff, and you know YM that's an FM chip. So I'm curious to know what else they're doing and how they're taking this.
Yeah.
So, Muddle Madness wrote in for this and had this to say: congrats, I would love to add a song in the mix. I don't always tune in, but when I do, it's such a blast to listen to y'all. Keep up the amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Muddle. You know, you don't have to listen to every episode. There is no requirement to do that.
No.
Especially...
Everyone must listen to every episode.
All right, so Mike hates most of our listeners.
We get it. You know, we understand that people can't listen all the time and that some people won't listen to everything that we offer because maybe they don't have an interest in it, you know? And that's totally fine. That's why we have a lot of different themes and styles. You know, we jump around from consoles, spotlights to chips. We dive into certain chips.
Franchises,
artists, yeah, everything. Do you have a particular favorite type of theme that we do?
There's few of our themes that I feel like we've revisited. Like we did a second card and board games, which was a lot of fun.
That was cool.
We've done a handful of Samsung different systems, but a lot of the stuff that we do, I guess you can kind of lump in things like winter tracks or like fire stages or things like that to be like not specific themes, but themes on an idea.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, and again, I mentioned this earlier, our reverse picks, both that and the homework ones were difficult in the sense that they required a lot of kind of research and a lot of thought to be put into them, which those aren't my favorite ones to do, but the kind of aftermath, the fruits of our labor, as if you will, was great. Like I enjoyed what we were doing. Like recording the episode was a lot of fun, seeing your reactions, getting to see what you picked out for me and you know where your thought process was at. I found that really interesting, and I really think we should do another one of those some point in the near future. But I also know, we've done a lot of talking, and we have a lot of stuff planned out. So
True.
It'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that stands out the most in our 100 episode history so far.
Sure. I really like doing composer interviews just because that's like the journalist in me.
Yeah.
But I also really love when we shake things up a bit and when we focus on chips. Those are always fun. If we do like something on a specific chip or a unique chip like the VRC6 or something like that, which we've done, not specifically the VRC6, but those are really cool to do when we talk about like hardware and stuff like that. And other than that, I would say I really like single episodes too. One fairly recent one was the Demos Quest CDI Spotlight, because that was a soundtrack that we had no experience with. We walked into it blind and checked it out and loved it. And so that was really cool to kind of experiment with that.
And that one came out of nowhere too. Like, wasn't that like...
We did an episode for episode 80 for free picks, I believe. And
was that it?
I think so.
One of my picks there had an artist that you ended up like going down a rabbit hole.
I went down a rabbit hole and found the Demos Quest soundtrack and heard the first song that we played on that and was like, oh man, this is amazing, but I want to save it. And I want to see if we could try to do a blind listen for it. So that was really cool.
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, and anytime that we involve the community too, whether it be a YouTube community, whether it be another podcaster, it's always great to talk to other people in the VGM appreciation. And of course, every episode with Nico.
Yeah.
Anytime that we have Nico on the show is always a blast.
He's our honorary third host.
That's it. All right, let's get into our last pick, which is Ryan McPherson. He picked Octopath Traveler. This came out on the Switch in 2018, and the track is Main Theme by Yasunori Nishiki. All right, thanks for joining us back on our listener requests episode, which happens to be our 100th episode. That was Ryan McPherson's pick, Octopath Traveler, the Switch game that came out in 2018. That was the main theme by Yasunori Nishiki. And man, this was great. It really reminded me of something that would come off on like Chrono Trigger. Like if there was ever a Chrono Trigger sequel, like a modern sequel, this right here, boom. Between the whimsical kind of flutes and strings along with that pan flute. When that pan flute came in, man, I was like, oh man, Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
Like very much really vibing with like a Yasunori Mitsuda, Nobuo Uematsu kind of flair to it. It was just great. Really well done.
Oh, absolutely. This one was, I love soaring tracks, and this was soaring high above the rest.
The soaringest.
Yes. It was the soaringest, yes. Oh, man. I mean, by sheer coincidence, like we've been rolling dice and whatnot to pick the order of the tracks here, and this one came last, and definitely a last but not least situation. This, like, what a track to end on.
Yeah.
This is like, out of everything that we've played, this is the perfect, I feel, ending track.
I agree. And, you know, it's a bit metaphorical, philosophical in a way in regards to our show. Because, in a way, it's very soaring, very uplifting. But it's also like, where is it going to go from here? Where is the show going to go from here? For those who are tuning in on YouTube, you may be seeing like a new visual style that we're trying out with the show. We have a new
we haven't
logo.
even addressed the new logo and anything.
We haven't. We have a brand new logo. It's kind of like an evolution of the old XVGM Radio logo, and also the background as well. And that was done by our good buddy Carlos, also known as
Kung Fu Carlito
of
the Heroes 3 podcast.
That's right. So Carlito, as well as his friend, I believe his name was Warren, who also helped out with it as well, helped with the logo design specifically.
Yeah.
So just really great stuff. We're super proud of the new logo. Thank you so much to both of you for really kind of helping us evolve the show in a brand new direction. We've been talking behind the scenes in terms of like what we want to do with the show, and we're going to try to implement some new ideas in terms of this type of stuff that we're going to be covering. So maybe less like broad range type stuff and more like singular type episodes in terms of like specific games that we're going to be diving into. So we're really trying to, you know, try out new things. We're not afraid to see, you know, throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks. You know, or even more so like getting honed in. I know that's kind of the complete opposite, but like in a way, maybe honing in to cover less broad stuff and more like specific, like, hey, let's talk about this one thing and really dive in deep to that specific soundtrack.
Oh, I think the 20s are still going to be free picks.
Yes, yeah, we're still going to stick with that. Every 20 episodes will still be free picks as we've been doing, where that just gives us a chance to pick tracks that we find out of the blue. But yeah, so we're going to switch it up a little bit here and there. You know, we'll still, of course, have like the genre stuff, the history. We just started the history of Natsume. It's going to be a 3-part episode, so
at least.
stay tuned for that. But yeah, we've got some really great stuff coming out this year, and we've even got some stuff lined up for next year too. It's going to be great. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where the next evolution of the show goes.
Yeah. Spoiler: January will be an eco episode.
Yes, that will not change. That will not change.
Yeah,
so.
I think we've set some traditions that are fun to keep. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read Ryan's testimonial. So he wrote, "When I sat down to write this request, I knew I wanted something from Octopath, but had a lot of difficulty deciding which track to pick, since this is probably my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. The character themes are all unique and perfectly encapsulate their protagonists. The battle themes all kick ass with groovy bass lines, and the town themes are some of the best I've heard. Even though there are so many amazing tracks, and frankly even some I like better than this one, I settled on the title theme for one reason. When I was grinding for the super boss and almost dreading turning the game on, as soon as the opening theme would play, I was instantly excited to jump back in. This theme does such a great job of conveying the feeling of adventure you get from playing that I just had to pick it. Plus, I'm a sucker for that pan flute. Everyone needs to check out this soundtrack. Congrats on the 100th episode, it's quite an achievement." Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
And I agree that definitely I can see this track really kind of inspiring you to jump back into the game. I could say in comparison, Xenoblade Chronicles does that for me with the main theme. Every time I turn it on, I'd sit back and I listen to it, I vibe out to it before I start up the game. So similar. Yasunori Nishiki, soundtrack-wise, they're a newer composer for Square Enix. But before they did that, they did PES 2011 Pro Evolution Soccer, which came out on a couple different systems back in 2010. They did Never Dead, which was a Konami game. And so then they ended up doing Gravity Rush 2, where they did synth programming on that. And then they jumped on to Octopath Traveler, Kingdom Hearts 3, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, where they were an additional composer. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So definitely getting in that Square groove. Square Enix groove.
Square Wave groove.
Square Wave groove. Man, tons of great tracks. Now's the end of the episode where we generally pick our favorites. That much will not change. I'm going to say for me, I'm going to go first this time.
Ooh.
Because I already know. I'm picking that Paradise Killer track. It was so good.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Curly Kevin and I have talked about Paradise Killer at length, as have you and I, and I agree, like there's a lot there that I really enjoy. As I mentioned when we talked about it, like when that song comes on in my car, I crank it, I love it. But every one of these tracks was a great pick. So thank you to everybody who wrote in with your
absolutely.
requests and your testimonials. It's hard to pick except for the fact that Paradise Killer is the cheat code. So I'm sorry, everybody else. It looks like Curly Kev knows the cheat codes, but thank you.
I also really loved Rob Nichols' pick.
Bust a Groove, yeah.
Yeah, that was great too.
That was great. Purnell's Aku Max was awesome. Camille's, I enjoyed the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series, and that was a really nice, really chill track.
Yeah, a lot of really great variety in this episode.
Hammock's track was really nice and chill. Like I said, it's
Everybody knocked it out of the park.
if it weren't for that Paradise Killer track, this would be really hard to pick.
Yes, for sure. Agreed.
But thank you again to everybody.
Yeah.
We couldn't have done this episode without you.
Absolutely. Thanks again to anyone who's listened over the past 100 episodes, whether you're a new listener, whether you're an old school pixel tuner that came over to XVGM, we appreciate anyone and everybody that has clicked to listen to our episode, to share, to comment in the Discord, or shoot us an email, or leave a comment on our YouTube video. It really is great to hear from all of you. So keep it up. We love hearing from you guys. One of the main things that we always wanted to really do with this show is really build a community around video game music. And, there's tons of other podcasts that also do that. But I think one of the hardest lessons that you have to learn is there's not gonna be people that listen every time. There's not gonna be people that are around all the time. Life gets busy. And what's the Ferris Bueller quote? Like, life
Finds a way.
Life finds a way. Sure, let's go with that. But what I'm trying to say is we appreciate it if you're, stepping foot in the door for the first time listening to this show and you find something that you appreciate, or if you gave our show a try and you didn't like it, or you kind of fell off the wagon, that can happen too. But either way, we're here to serve you and the VGM community, to share our love of VGM with you guys. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you. So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Cam Worma, Jordan and Anson Davis, Rage Cage, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Scott Brackett, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/xvgmradio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you at the end of the show and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you've liked what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at facebook.com/groups/XVGM Radio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both of those sites is @XVGM Radio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, so we're kicking off episode 101 with a single game spotlight. We're going back to that format as we discussed in this episode. So this game was your pick, right?
Yeah, this is going to be Elevator Action Returns. I forget who exactly turned me onto it. It might have been you. It might have been our friend Brian. It could have been a couple different people.
Zuntata.
Yeah.
It's probably the Zuntata episode that we did on it.
That's possible.
Yeah.
I've had this one in my list of things I want to get to for a while, and I've kind of lost track. So we're going to get into it because this game has some amazing music.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see you in 1 month for Elevator Action Returns. Again, this is Mike.
And Justin.
Signing off for XVGM Radio. This came out in 1991. Excuse me. Good thing we edit this.
Yeah.